What is new in July? Now, we have some really exciting new instruments. I'm going to be talking about violins, bows, and even some cellos today. And these are all things that came in recently that I think are worth mentioning. Something I wanted to talk to you today that's a little bit different from what we normally do is violin making competitions. It's something that if you're not really in the violin world, you might not follow very closely, and a lot of players haven't really heard of them. But there are actually a lot of violin making competitions in the world, and some of them are very high profile, with some of the winners then going on to have very exciting and rewarding careers. Now, one of the biggest ones that we come across is called the Cremona Triennale. It happens every 3 years in Cremona. It's an enormous deal. Hundreds of makers sort of send in instruments and compete to see if they can win a prize. Now, one of the requirements for this competition is that the instruments need to look new. So there's no antiquing happening, and then instruments are judged based on the aesthetic and on the sound. So the reason I bring it up is because two of our violins that I'm talking about today have been made by prize winners from the competition. Now the first one is this 2015 violin by Gonzalo Baiolo. This is a very beautiful Strad model violin. It was made in 2015, it entered the competition, and it won some very nice honorable mentions for both sound and aesthetic. You can see it has a very clean looking two-piece back with no blemishes. Now another violin we have here is not actually new to this month, but is also very relevant in this world because it was made by Cremonese maker Kazune Nemoto. Now he was a gold medalist at the 2021 Cremona Triennale competition, and he is one of the best what we call non-antiquing makers in Cremona. He makes only new-looking instruments, both cellos and violins, and he is really one of the best to do it. You can see, again, a very clean two-piece back, no blemishes, nothing of any kind, just a very, very clean, beautiful-looking violin. Sometimes our clients are more used to older instruments, and so they much prefer the antique look of an instrument, which is completely fair. But what I would say is it's quite difficult to make a really convincing new-looking violin. In some ways, it's actually harder to make a convincing new-looking violin. And I think it's quite fun to really sort of, instead of just glancing over and saying, oh, it looks too new for me or something, is to try and really identify what makes a very good new-looking violin so special. And I think a lot of the things you can be looking at if you want to is the corners of the instrument, the purfling, the evenness of the varnish, and all these things that contribute to what makes a very good craftsperson. In particular, the scrolls as well. Over here we can see just a super clean Stradivari scroll, the flames of the wood, the cuts, the uniformity of the varnish, and more. So these are two violins that I think are worth mentioning, both prize winners, past prize winners from the Cremona Triennale competition. Now, another violin that we have, which is new to the month, and is very good, is this Icelandic violin by Hans Johansson. He's a maker that we've been working with for a few years. He is quite sought after, but we had one of his violins here in London, which we sold to a very good player. And we've also been working with him on cellos, which are also really good. He's quite well known for having a powerful but warm and round sound. So I think that's definitely what he's trying to go for. All of his instruments are his own personal model. This one, for instance, is sort of based on Stradivari proportions, but is very much his own model that he's refined over the years. And I think he's always seeking just a very big, very round and warm tone. That's definitely one of his calling cards. This was made as part of a quartet, and it is now here with us for sale in London, and it is a very impressive violin. Now, the last violin we have for today is one of our own, the Atelier MyLuthier violins. This is the 8th in the series. It's also a Stradivari model, so that's what we're working with today. It features a really very beautiful one-piece back. It's a very open, warm sound. Again, quite a responsive, easy-to-play violin. We've been making them now for about 2 years, and they're really popular here in London. We usually sell them as we make them, so only have one available at any given time. They're priced at £9,000, and the idea with that was to provide a really attractive instrument that plays well and sounds well for under £10,000, which we think can be quite a tricky thing to find. Somebody recently mentioned in one of our YouTube videos that you can of course find good violins under £10,000. Now, I completely agree with this. There's plenty of good options out there. What we mean when we talk about these in particular is that we think that they can take you to a professional level and beyond. So they're very good professional violins at this price point. There are of course plenty of good options at a much lower price point. We actually often recommend that people spend a bit less certainly if they're getting started on the violin, rather than buy something that costs a few £1,000s but then might end up not being so great and they have to upgrade from it pretty quickly in the end. Next, I wanted to talk about what's new in the bow world. Now, I talked about violin making competitions, but what I didn't talk about is bow making competitions. Now, one of the biggest ones in the world is the Violin Society of America's bow making competition. Now, we have 3 contemporary bows here, and between them, the 3 makers have won a staggering 10 gold medals at the VSA's bow making competition. The first one is a cello bow by Jean Grunberger. He is a very, very established maker and has been making bows for high-profile players for a very long time now. Next, we have Éric Fournier, who is the winner of 5 gold medals, and he is an absolute rising star. More and more people are sort of, recognizing his work as one of the most important bow maker of our time. And lastly, over here we have Paul Sadka, who is also very, very established. He studied with Noel Burke in Ireland and has for a long time been forging his own path, making bows for, again, very high-profile people in England and France and beyond. Lastly, we have 2 beautiful Hill & Sons bows that just came in. Now, they need less introduction. Everyone knows Hill bows. They play very well. They are very well respected and have been used by players here in the UK for decades and decades for their good acoustic properties and playability. Now, let me take you to our latest cellos. So over here, we have 3 cellos, which I want to discuss, that are new to the month of July. Now, the first one over here is a very beautiful cello by William Forster II, known as Old Forster. Now, he is one of the most distinguished English makers and is particularly well known for his cellos, actually. They are extremely well regarded and are played by some top players such as Alyssa Weilenstein, who actually prefers to play this instrument than, for instance, an antique Italian. This particular cello has an unbelievable flames. It's very, very beautiful. The craftsmanship is superb. It's in good condition, and it plays very easily. It has a very beautiful, warm sound, very nuanced colors, a broad range of dynamics, and can really project if you need it to. Now, the second cello I wanted to talk to you about is, again, our very own from our London workshop. So this is our very first Atelier MyLuthier cello. We're very proud of it. We've made, as I said, we have the 8th violin that's also new to this month, but this is our very first cello. We're really pleased with the result. We think it sounds really good. It has a very open, warm, resonant sound that I think can also allow it to be a very versatile instrument. So you'd be able to play it in chamber music, orchestra, or even in recitals and solo music. The last cello that we have for the month of July is an interesting one, and one that we are very pleased with. It's by a maker from Paris called Bernard Camurat. It was made in 1996, so isn't brand new, but it's been owned and played by a principal cellist here in a London orchestra, so it can perform at a very high level. Definitely would be very good for someone who's looking for something that can project and that has a nice blending capabilities as well. So Bernard Camurat, very nice cello, very good example of French making, and we're very pleased with this one as well. So that concludes this video on what's new in July. This is the latest selection of instruments that have come in, and we're really pleased with them. Let us know if there's one you liked in particular, or if there's anything that you're interested in that we haven't featured yet. You never know what might come in the next few months. Thanks so much for supporting us. We always love hearing back from you, and I will see you in the next one.